This is BBC World News. I'm Karen Giannoni. Our top stories. The first 10 hopefuls in the race to be the Democratic nominee for president go head-to-head. After a shocking image emerges of the death of a father and daughter on the US-Mexico border, President Trump blames the migrant crisis on the Democrats. Europe is sweltering in an early summer heat wave with the highest ever June temperatures in Germany, Poland and the Czech Republic. Medical proof of vaccination against cervical cancer is working with a significant drop in the disease. Hello, welcome to BBC World News. We begin in the United States, where there have been heated exchanges during the first NBC News debate of Democratic contenders for the 2020 presidential race. Topics range from Iran's nuclear deal, gun control, Medicare and the opioid crisis. All the candidates desperate to use this chance to stand out in a very crowded field. Gary O'Donoghue is in Miami watching the action.
One party, 10 candidates, all vying for the chance to make a big breakthrough in front of a national TV audience. After a slow start, it was healthcare that stirred some passions. Candidates asked to raise their hand if they would get rid of private insurance. It's a key policy for one of the frontrunners, Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Healthcare is a basic human right, and I will fight for basic human rights.
But one candidate, former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who needed a big lift from tonight, clashed with New York Mayor Bill de Blasio when he defended the choice of public and private health care.
I think the choice is fundamental to our ability to get everybody cared for.
Private insurance is not working for tens of millions of Americans. When you talk about the co-pays, the deductibles, the premiums, the out-of-pocket expenses, it's not working.
That's right. So for those for
that's
whom it is not working...
Immigration was bound to be a central topic, given the emergence of a horrifying image of a drowned man and his 2-year-old daughter on the banks of the Rio Grande as they tried to enter the United States. Senator Cory Booker spoke candidates.
When people come to this country, they do not leave their human rights at the border. No.
But on the question of solutions, there were disagreements. Should crossing the border illegally be a crime?
And we would not criminally prosecute any family who is fleeing violence and persecution.
Generally, the candidates stayed away from attacking Donald Trump, but there were some sharp words.
I don't think we should conduct foreign policy in our bathrobe at 5 in the morning, which is what he does.
The biggest threat to the security of the United States is Donald Trump, and there's no question.
On January 20th, 2021, we'll say adios to Donald Trump.
These 10 candidates agreed on quite a lot. Not surprising because they are all from the same party. But there were significant clashes on healthcare and immigration, a sign that there is a real choice on policy as well as personality. Later today, we'll do it all over again with the next 10 Democrats who want to be president. Gary O'Donoghue, BBC News in the Spin Room in Miami.
The US Senate and House of Representatives are at loggerheads about how to ease the migrant crisis on the border with Mexico after passing rival funding plans. And it follows an outcry after a photo emerged of a father, Oscar Ramirez, and his baby daughter lying face down in a river, having drowned as they tried to cross the Mexican border into Texas. Our correspondent Chris Buckler sends this update from the US border with Mexico.
For long stretches, the Rio Grande divides Mexico and America. Many have tried to cross this river, but the deaths of a father and his child in these waters have put in sharp focus the human cost of the crisis at this border. Oscar Ramirez left El Salvador with the aim of starting a new life for his family in the United States, but he drowned alongside his daughter Valeria on the edge of America.
I cried a lot when we said goodbye, because in my heart I felt it was going to be the last time I would hug him.
Across this short stretch of river, America seems tantalizingly close, but there are real dangers for any families who try to get illegally into the United States. Tens of thousands are captured by Border Patrol agents every single month. and that's beside the risks. Often these are desperate people, but President Trump believes bigger barriers and more security would be a greater deterrent.
I hate it, and I know it could stop immediately if the Democrats change the law. That journey across that river is a very dangerous journey.
However, Democrats believe it's Mr. Trump who needs to change his policies, particularly with claims that migrant shelters are unclean and that the treatment of some children has been uncaring. Chris Buckler, BBC News, Brownsville in Texas.
Italy says it won't allow any migrants to disembark from a rescue boat that's currently off the coast of the island of Lampedusa. Sea-Watch 3 is carrying 42 migrants, including women and children whom it rescued in the Mediterranean 2 weeks ago. Despite the risk of heavy fines, the ship's captain says she had to head to Italy because the migrants are exhausted. Ramzan Kamali reports.
The charity ship Sea-Watch 3, heading to the Italian island of Lampedusa. From a distance, it looks like any other vessel heading to shore. But this boat is carrying 42 migrants it rescued 2 weeks ago from a rubber boat in the Mediterranean. Since that rescue, it's been sailing back and forth off the coast of Italy's southernmost island. An exhausted captain described what happened when officials climbed on board.
They have checked our ship certificates and the passport of the crew. And now they are waiting for further instructions from their superiors. I really hope they will take the rescuees off the ship.
But Italy's Interior Minister, Matteo Salvini, was furious the ship had even entered Italian waters and vowed that the Dutch-registered vessel would not be allowed to disembark. He also said that he had lodged a diplomatic protest with the Netherlands.
Sea-Watch, a ship operating outside the law, is endangering the lives of dozens of immigrants for a little political game, for a little disgusting and shady political game. They are the ones who are playing with the lives of human beings.
Italian authorities had earlier warned that they would impose heavy fines or even impound the ship. But the charity that runs the boat said the captain of Sea-Watch 3 had no alternative but to head for Lampedusa. It also accused European institutions of not fulfilling their responsibilities to safeguard people rescued at sea. This isn't the first time the ship has been used to rescue migrants from the Mediterranean, and also not the first time it's angered Italian authorities. The last time it took assurances from 6 European countries that they would take on the rescued migrants before it was allowed to dock. And unless European countries can agree on a plan to deal with this crisis in the long term, similar standoffs off the Italian coasts are likely to be repeated. Ramzan Karmali, BBC News.
Let's get some of the day's other news. At least 16 people have been crushed to death and dozens more injured at a stadium in Madagascar's capital, Antananarivo. The president visited those injured in hospital. Details are unclear, but authorities say the crush happened as people tried to leave the stadium after an Independence Day ceremony while police closed the venue's doors. The US Federal Aviation Administration has discovered another problem with the Boeing 737 MAX aircraft that's been involved in 2 deadly crashes since October. While it's not known whether it played a role in either accident, the FAA says Boeing must address the risk. All 737 MAX aircraft are currently grounded. Australia's foreign ministry says it's seeking urgent clarification over fears that one of its citizens has been detained in North Korea. Alex Sigley, who's 29, is a student at Pyongyang University. He also runs tours for visitors there. He uses his Twitter account to speak about his life in the city, but hasn't posted anything for 3 days. Scientists in Britain and Canada say a vaccination against cervical cancer has brought about a marked reduction in the disease. They expect the vaccine, first introduced in 2007, to continue causing a substantial decline in the cancer's prevalence. Lauren Moss reports.
Every year, cervical cancer claims the lives of more than 300,000 women worldwide. 850 of those deaths are in the UK. It's most commonly caused by the human papillomavirus. A decade since the HPV vaccine was rolled out to girls aged 12 and 13, scientists have found there's been a decline in types of the virus which can lead to cancer. The study looked at data from 60 million people in 14 high-income countries. It's found that 5 to 8 years after vaccination among women aged 20 to 24, there was a 66% reduction in high-risk strains of HPV. Cases of genital warts were also down 54%, and there was a 31% decline in precancerous lesions.
The vaccine is really successful at reducing HPV infections, and there are 5 HPV types which you've seen really substantial declines of in the UK, and they cause about 90% of cervical disease and cervical cancer. So what we'll expect to see in the near future is that we're seeing really substantial declines in cervical cancers.
It's estimated around 80% of girls in the UK receive the HPV vaccine. From September, it'll also be given to boys aged 12 and 13. The study didn't analyse data from low-income countries. Charities say it shows there's an urgent need for a wider rollout of vaccination programmes to get closer to a world where cervical cancer is a thing of the past. Lauren Moss, BBC News.
Well, as we've been reporting, Europe is in the grip of a heat wave. The highest ever temperatures for June have been recorded in Germany, Poland and the Czech Republic. Some cities in France have restricted traffic to reduce the effects of pollution during the worst of the heat. Keith Doyle reports.
Across Europe, the temperature is rising and records are breaking. In France, they've been feeling the heat all week, but today it's set to reach new highs, 40 degrees centigrade and above. Around 50 schools in the Paris region are closed today. They're not equipped to deal with the high temperatures. Exams have been postponed, and across the city, places have been set up where people can take refuge from the scorching heat. The most polluting vehicles are banned from Paris city centre today. The French government has been accused of scaremongering, but with claims that the last serious heat wave in 2003 cost 15,000 lives, it says the warnings are needed. We shouldn't kid ourselves, says this minister. Even if we do take many precautions, intense heat waves can cause premature deaths in people who are vulnerable or poorly. In Spain, temperatures already hit 40 degrees centigrade yesterday. They're expected to reach as high as 45 degrees in the northeast over the next 2 days. But the unprecedented heat has been felt all across Europe. Here in Vatican City, Austria, and Bosnia-Herzegovina. Back in France at the Women's World Cup, and the English football team looks set to escape the worst of the heat in Le Havre when they play Norway tonight. 24 degrees is forecast. And where there's a heat wave, there's usually animals getting frozen treats to keep cool. And so they are in this French zoo. The high temperatures are caused by hot air from the Sahara and blamed on climate change by some. Whatever the cause, the immediate concern for tens of millions of people across Europe will be getting through the next few days of intense heat. Keith Doyle, BBC News.
Well, let's get the picture from France and talk to our correspondent Hugh Schofield in Paris. Hugh, how is France coping so far?
Well, I mean, we're in the thick of it now, and today, tomorrow, Saturday are when it's going to really, really hit. I mean, up till now, the country has certainly been aware that it's very, very, very hot. But I would say certainly here in Paris this hasn't sort of created a wave of panic or a sense of impending apocalypse, because there's a feeling that we're at the beginning of it. It's relatively novel, that it shouldn't, we're told, last too long. I'd say the attitude has been fairly kind of free and easy about it. People are quite enjoying the heat, and in the morning, right now, it's perfectly pleasant. There's a bit of a cool breeze. It's this afternoon, and in the afternoons when it really, really starts to hit. I think everyone feels that if this were to prolong itself, there was a heat wave, we would start having serious problems, health problems, and everyone is very, very alive to that. The authorities certainly are warning people to keep taking the precautions. Hospitals are on standby for taking in people who are suffering from heat stroke and so on. But so far, I would say, because we're right at the beginning of it, and it looks like it won't last too long, the country hasn't given way to any sort of sense of panic or anything. Later today, though, we will see some extraordinarily high temperatures, with the all-time record of 44.1 degrees Celsius set in 2003 likely to be broken in the south.
Gosh, and you mentioned preparations here. I mean, what lessons were learnt from that intense heat wave that they had, a very deadly one back in 2003?
Well, I think the main lesson was that old people need to be looked after and checked on. And that was what was not happening, I think, back in 2003. That was, don't forget, in the middle of the summer holiday period, and that was part of the problem that, families were not where they normally were. Plans had been made, they weren't around to look after old people, and so there was a certain lack of care there which led to this. On top of that, of course, people are much more alive now to the simple things that can be done to stay healthy in these situations. Not opening your windows or shutters ever, not even at night if the nighttime temperatures stay high, and staying hydrated and putting wet sheets up in front of fans, this kind of thing, which is what people do now. But above all, checking on neighbours and on relatives. And that's been the burden of the government's campaign, or information campaign, over the last couple of days. Yes, there are some measures that have been put up, like these cold rooms in town halls and so on, but I mean, they're really cosmetic. I mean, not enough people are going there for them to make any kind of difference. They're part of a communications campaign, and that's what really counts. It's a way of telling the public, we're in a heat wave, do all those things which we've told you to do.
Hugh, thanks very much. Hugh Schofield in Paris. Stay with us on BBC World News. Still to come, Kylie Minogue plays the Glastonbury Festival for the first time this weekend. She talks to the BBC ahead of what will be a landmark performance.
Can you feel the love tonight?
Look at the stars.
The peace the evening brings.
The great kings look down on us from those stars.
The world for once in perfect harmony with all its living things.
And so will I.
Disney's The Lion King. Tickets on sale now. This summer.
How much longer?
Hey, watch it, buddy. There's nothing like a vacation.
You ever think about getting out there, seeing the world?
I need to get back to my kid.
You got a kid? Like a kid?
Like a human kid?
To recharge your batteries.
Wow, you need to fix that.
From Disney and Pixar.
Why are you so bad at driving? You got 6 eyes.
Toy Story 4, rated G, in theaters June 21st.
I'm Karen Giannoni. You're watching BBC World News, the latest headlines. The first debate between rival contenders for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination next year in the US has seen heated exchanges on healthcare, tax, immigration and gun control. And discussions are continuing in the US Congress to try to secure emergency aid to ease the migrant crisis on the border with Mexico. Authorities in the Indonesian capital, Jakarta, have increased security as the Constitutional Court prepares to announce its verdict in the case of the disputed presidential election. In the lawsuit, presidential challenger Prabowo Subianto alleged that the elections were rigged in favour of the incumbent Joko Widodo. Let's go to the BBC's Mahulika Sitepu, who's in Jakarta. And Mahulika, just tell us how tight security is, first of all.
Yes, Karin, definitely there is a big presence of security now in the capital city of Jakarta, as the security are trying to anticipate for the potential danger or potential violence as what happened last month after the announcement by the Indonesia election, saying that the incumbent president Joko Widodo proclaimed as the winner of the election. But as we can see, even though there are thousands of people gathered not too far from the Constitutional Court, Indonesia's highest court, the numbers seems way less than last month after the announcement, and also the tension notably less compared to last month. During the 2 days violent, streets were empty, businesses were shut, and schools were closed because the city was on height of what will happen.
So Mr. Widodo's challenger, the retired General Prabowo Subianto, has refused to concede defeat. Just tell us what he's alleging happened in these elections.
Yes, the opposition retired General Prabowo Subianto, this is a rematch between him and incumbent President Joko Widodo from the 2014 election. And similar with 2014, he said that there was widespread cheating happened during this election, and also there is an abuse of power from the government, which is from the incumbent President Joko Widodo. But experts say it's very hard to prove that allegations, and both legal teams for the Indonesia election and President Joko Widodo say that those allegations are baseless. Indonesians, based on polling, still believe that the election was free and fair, and that the judiciary system is not biased.
And given that there has been the worst civil unrest in Jakarta for some time, how much concern is there about what might happen when the court gives its verdict?
The challenger, Prabowo Subianto, has asked the supporters to just stay at home this time. And basically he said that he's going to take any results or any ruling from the justices. But obviously there are some supporters that is still trying to press the Constitutional Court. But again, we can expect it's kind of less tense than the announcement last month, because people still do their business as usual, and people kind of like try to move forward from what happened and already accept the decision by the Election Commission to basically claim the President Joko Widodo as the winner of the election.
Mahulika Sitepu, thank you very much, joining us live from Jakarta. Now, Wednesday marked the opening day of the legendary British music festival Glastonbury. Festival goers arrived in their masses to grey skies and muddy fields. Among the acts due to perform for the first time there, Kylie Minogue, 14 years after breast cancer forced her to cancel her headline slot. The BBC's Nagaman Chatty spoke exclusively to the Princess of Pop in the grand surroundings of Hampton Court Palace.
So I got you a palace. I got you a throne.
We've got 2 micro thrones.
Princess of Pop, what else? What else would I get for you? Do you like it?
I love it.
And all of this really is a bit of a warm-up for Glastonbury, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was that a gulp?
Every time someone mentions it, I'm like, oh.
Really? Yeah. After all this time with all your experience?
There's just, you know, it's a big deal for me, yeah.
Why? Tell me. I mean, there is history with this, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's the legend slot, and you know, I keep calling it the afternoon slot just to try and take the pressure off. But yeah, I think most people know I was meant to headline there in 2005, and I had my breast cancer diagnosis, so I couldn't do that. So by the time I am standing on that stage doing my own show, it will all hit me. You know, a lot of those things you kind of just, you have to just push them aside and get on with life. But it will all come to me.
Are you good at
all
that?
the more reason to celebrate. I'm telling myself. Like,
absolutely.
I made it. I made it here.
Would I see you in wellies, or are the gold hot pants making?
I am prepared, and I do have wellies just in case.
Okay, gold hot pants. Are they making a comeback?
Not the gold hot.
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
One of the things people ask me all the time is, when you interview someone who's famous, they appear lovely. Are they as lovely? And I genuinely do say she's fantastic. Is that a mental attitude? Have you always decided this is the person I'm going to be?
I just think that's the person I am. I'm not lovely all the time. I mean, people can get the look and they know. But,
can you give me the look?
You don't want the look.
Please
I
give me
would
the look.
not give it to you,
I've got
Naga.
a look.
No, you honestly don't.
I've got
you
a
don't
look.
want it.
Give me the look, I'll give you my look back.
Ready? I don't want them to see
ready.
it. Go. Is it awful?
I know, it's so bad.
It's terrifying.
It's scary. It's scary.
Okay, we're back.
You're also performing for the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots for Brighton Gay Pride.
The community and I have just been a solid partnership for such a long time.
How did that come about?
Not too much to do with me, I have to confess. I feel like the LGBT community just kind of adopted me and said, well, yeah, somehow we know she's one of us. Well, but it's a hard thing to explain because I've never, it's just normal to me.
Didn't you say you wouldn't get married unless Australia changed the rules?
Yeah.
Wasn't that one of the moments?
Yeah.
That's quite a big statement to make, isn't it?
And they did change it.
I usually shake hands at the end of the interview. Are you a hugger?
I'm a hugger, Naga. I'm going to shake your hand.
You're amazing.
I might steal your dress, but
We'll do a swap later on.
You look so gorgeous.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right, well,
thank you so much.
Kylie and Naga. Just time to bring you this. A hot dog weighing in at 29.9 kilos took a bite at the record for the world's largest dog on Wednesday. So large it took 3 men to lift the 1.5 metre long beef dog onto a grill for the required 2 hours of cooking. This was all at Coney Island. After that, I'll be back in a few minutes' time.
What does an Artlist subscription cover? Well, everything.
Do you cover broadcast commercials?
We cover everything.
But now I have 50,000 subscribers.
Awesome. Still covered.
But what
everything.
Wait, and if I'm filming a show?
Everything.
But my channel views?
Everything.
Wow. Cool.
One price, one simple license. We've got you covered. For everything. Start now and get your license.